New Zealand come out on top in an absolute battle at Eden Park. My name's Mark. Let's talk rugby. Tough conditions at Eden Park for both teams in this one, but it really was the All Blacks that kind of had that composure for most of the game, had a lot of the momentum as well. I thought, the kicking game was pretty good, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Let's just go through some of the highlights of the game first. So, All Blacks over within, a minute or so of the start. Springboks, on attack, they drop the ball. It's punted down, really good kick into the 22. Real pressure from Will Jordan leads to Colby. He scrambles the ball clear, but there's a line out just outside the 22. From that line out, then they go quickly into Barrett. Crossfield kick to Narawa. He kind of dives and catches the ball mid-dive. Willie LaRue goes off his feet as well, like trying to cover it. And when Narawa gets back to his feet, then he's got a clear run into the corner. That's converted by Barrett for 7 points to 0. Creel then, offside, penalty for New Zealand. They point to the post. And, as they're actually lining up the kick, Narawa, he got it like a smack in the ribs or something. He's got to go off injured. First minute he scores a try. Few minutes later, he's actually off injured. So, a bit of a strange one for him. McKenzie on for him, and Barrett misses the kick. Springboks then finally getting a bit of front foot ball from a penalty right to the edge of the 22. Tried to set up a maul, bit of innovation from them. Kind of passing to, this is when, line-out's already over. They're in the middle of the field in the 22. Pass to, a jumper with two lifters, line-out style. But it goes a bit awry for them, and the ball actually ends up getting turned over. But the great thing about the Springboks is, for me, most innovative side in World Rugby, just in terms of the way they look at the rules and the interpretations and stuff, and they're always finding stuff. So it would have been interesting to see what they were going to do from that. Probably just trying to set up a maul and get that going forward. The maul, honestly, though, today wasn't brilliant. I thought New Zealand, countered it very well. But from here then, Beauden Barrett collects a kick deep in his own half, and then, just booms a kick back downfield on the half turn as well. Brilliant 50-22 from him. All Blacks then to Satiti at the tail of the line-out. He gives a pass back inside to find Will Jordan coming on. It's obviously a set piece, steaming through a gap on a nice line and over for basically his customary try. If Will Jordan is playing for the All Blacks and he doesn't score a try, it's a rare occasion, honestly. Converted by McKenzie for 14 points to 0. Box then win a scrum penalty as the group goes to the ground and they decide to get themselves on the board. Pollard makes it 14-3. And honestly, the scrum was one area, one of the very few areas where the Springboks had, clear dominance in the game. Then we have obstruction, under high kick, and Pollard has another kick at goal, but it drifts to the left and wide. But, South Africa just getting that foothold in the game. They didn't have a great opportunity from a line out on the edge of the 22 as you approach half time. They go off the top to Williams, but he drops a slippery ball, and New Zealand win a penalty at the resulting scrum. And, that was, I think, the only penalty New Zealand with the scrum, but at a very good time for them. And I think that's a lot of this game kind of turned on that was, New Zealand, yes, they got a little bit of luck, but I think they created their own luck as well. They kind of, at the big moments, they were the ones that really rose up for the most part. And Thomas Dutoy gets singled out by referee Carl Dixon on that occasion. Pollard then kicks a pinpoint perfect 50-22 on the run. Just a brilliant kick. We had the one from Barra earlier going one way and then Pollard doing it the other way as well. Just on a dead run, the guy just kicks absolutely perfectly. And I think maybe it was McKenzie was coming across, but he found that gap between McKenzie and the touchline to get it to bounce in. But then Marks delays the throw, and the chance is gone. Halftime is 14-3. South Africa then, they, second half, attack up the right through Cheston Colby. He puts a kick in behind. Savea is covering, and the ball beats both of them into touch. Colby would have really liked that ball to stay in field, but it was always going to go out. 5 meter defensive line out to New Zealand. They make a mess of that. Again, I think conditions, very wet and slippery, and kind of lots of rain there as well. And they fumble the ball at the line out. South Africa dive on it. I think maybe it was Etzebeth. They're going for the line, and then Oxenche tries to force his way over, but gets held up. And I'm pretty sure Sabea was involved in there as well. Great defense from the All Blacks at that stage. Because you could feel South Africa, if they can get that, get that score early in the half, then maybe, the momentum was going to be with them. From here, then, South Africa playing the halfback, and Mackenzie stretches New Zealand's lead from the tee, 70 points to 3. And, these were kind of, crucial times in the game, I felt, where South Africa weren't taking points and New Zealand were. And, I think ultimately that led to the outcome we had in the game. Springboks then, to go to their bench, you got Quagga Smith, Sasha Feinberg and Gamazulu, and Corvus Reinark, and a few others coming on as well. But those guys, 3 that I mentioned there, really having an impact. Grant Williams, he's, I think he's a top player, and he's got gas like to burn. He's unbelievably quick. But I felt like the conditions didn't really suit his game. I didn't see him like in open space. It wasn't really a game for open runners. I thought, just that quicker passing ability from Reinark really did begin to get the Springboks going. But still, finding it difficult to break down that stubborn New Zealand defence. They then, basically, their next try, or their first try, for the Springboks comes almost out of nothing, because All Blacks have a scrum in their own 22, but the Springboks just absolutely monster them and blow them off the ball. Then Quagga Smith off the back gets in a couple of meters. They recycle it, and then Malcolm Marks goes over, I think with Dutoy latched onto him, and over he goes, converted for 70 points to 10. And it was just, again, that one piece of the game that was really going the Springboks' way, and they produced, an absolute classic Springboks scrum there, just blowing New Zealand off the ball to get themselves kind of back in touch. And now you're feeling like momentum is starting to switch to the Springboks. But then at the restart, straight away, ping for blocking, and you're thinking pretty kickable, penalty for the All Blacks. Pop it over, and you have that 10-point cushion. But no, they're going for the jugular. They kick it to the corner, and really putting pressure on that line. Quagga Smith, from an offside position, plays the ball. Carl Dixon decides, he's completely killed the attack, and it's cynical, so he goes to the bin. South Africa down to 14 at a crucial time of the game. New Zealand back to the corner, and again, they're pounding away at that line, but this time now, they're sucking in the defense, and then they move it inside. South Africa kind of out of defenders, and it was Tupaya goes over next to the post, converted for 24 points to 10, and you're feeling like that's a big score, because given the conditions, it's not going to be a high scoring game. There aren't going to be like bursts of tries from either team. Then we have South Africa coming forward again, attacking off a line out. Nice little kick in between two defenders, and Kyle Preston is forced to basically slide back over his own line, and gives South Africa a 5 meter scrum. But that was all he could do. It was either slide back over your own line or leave the ball, and South African backs are going to go over themselves and score. But feel like at this stage, from this 5 meter scrum, it's probably the last chance for South Africa to really get themselves back into this. The clock is against them. We're below 10 minutes to go, and again a strong scrum from the Springboks, and we got some big carries, gets them close, and then Corvus Reinhardt goes over to score, converted for 24 points to 17, and now we got 5 minutes left for them to rescue a draw. They do get the chance to get back-to-back penalties against them, back into the 22, and now they're back with the 15 as well. Quagga Smith is back on from the sin bin, and the Boks, they're coming with momentum, but then Savea gets over the ball, wins a penalty. You can see why, he's the player, world player of the year. Guy anytime you see him, like, he's really good. He was absolutely immense today, and you feel like that's the winning of the game right there. There is like another phase of attacks from South Africa outside the 22, just about get into 22 before New Zealand turned the ball over and get the ball off. But you felt like that moment there was when, the All Blacks won this test, and full time is 24 points to 17. And what a game of rugby that these two teams served up as well. The rugby champion this year, it's one of the, I think for me, the most interesting things has been how things have changed from round to round and momentum and stuff like this. So I think, I'm pretty sure I'm right that New Zealand, I think they've won 2 on the bounce now, and if they have, that's the only team that's done it so far. Every other team has kind of been, won one and then lost one, and then either won or lost one on the back of that. So but it feels like with this championship this year that we've got, 3 rounds to go, I think, so we're at the halfway point. Whoever can have that little bit of a burst of a run, maybe even just 2 wins more, not even like 3, could take the championship. It's so close. So whoever can find that consistency in performance is going to take it. But let's have a look at the stats, and then we'll talk briefly about each of the teams as well. So let me pull them up here. So starting off, 3 tries to 2 for New Zealand, and really, other than we had like Oxenche getting held up over the line, there weren't that many more chances to score tries for either team. It wasn't like, you would think with the conditions you might have a few where there were drop balls over the line or stuff like that. It wasn't really that kind of game. Neither team, for the most part at least, were going to with it. Certainly with ball in hand. We did have like the cross kick for the first New Zealand try, but generally it was the forwards dominating, and most of the positions that the teams got themselves in, they came away with a try. Like there wasn't a huge amount of really last ditch. As I said, the Oxenche one really the only one there where one team held the other out. But there certainly were points where momentum was killed by really good defence as well. Onto then the kick pass run. So New Zealand 194 metres run to South Africa's 249, and then kicks from hand 34 to 32, and it really was, it's a type of conditions where kicking made sense, because first of all, this type of game, you want to play the territory game, you want to be in the opposition's half so that you can take advantage of any chance to take points, whether that's from the tee or getting in good positions because of errors, but also that whole error thing as well. Put up those bombs and hoping that the opposition are maybe going to give you a good position with a knock on and a scrum in decent position. So we had both teams doing that. There were kind of a mix, contestables and just going for going for territory as well, putting it kind of in between players, down the middle, that kind of stuff. And you can kind of understand why, given those conditions, you don't want to be playing with the ball kind of 20 or 30 meters from your own try line. Passes then 124 to 101. So you can see that overall South Africa making more meters per carry, because they're just under 2.5. New Zealand below 2, probably about 1.9 I think per run for them. And then it was that's per pass. Per run though, 95 runs each. So New Zealand, just under, round about 2 meters actually for them, or just over 2 meters, and about 2.5 for South Africa. So just a little bit more on the South African side. But again, I think the issue with South Africa as well was a lot of their moves, they were kind of going out the back a bit and someone was coming onto the ball. And even though maybe they're making meters on it, you're not getting that momentum in terms of bowing the defense, and they found that kind of difficult. But both teams did, honestly. Next then, in terms of possession, 48% for New Zealand, 52% for South Africa, and it was kind of even between the halves and that. New Zealand 49% in the first half to 51%, and then 48-52 in the second half. So not much difference in terms of a swing there. But then territory, 40% for New Zealand, 60% for South Africa. So again, South Africa playing in the right areas of the field with, slightly more than half of the ball. But, New Zealand, that defensive effort from them was really good. You didn't feel like that, there were too many times when they were under too much pressure, and that's not kind of, to say that South Africa weren't trying. You could see some big carries from them, but New Zealand resetting that defense very quickly, getting in there, picking their times as well to get in there, compete for the ball, driving over at times as well and turn the ball over. And I thought, New Zealand defensively, I think that's pretty much where they won the game, was just brilliant defense from them. In terms of then clean breaks, 3 for New Zealand, 1 for South Africa. 25 defenders beaten to 24. So in terms of conversion rate, you're talking 8-1 for New Zealand, and then 1 in 24 for South Africa in terms of defenders beaten into clean breaks. So you can see that that it wasn't that type of game where it was loose and it was easy. Once you beat the defender, it was easy to make more meters there. The scramble from both teams was pretty good, and just that connectedness in defence as well. Offloads then 5 for New Zealand and 3 for South Africa. Rucks 96% to 95%, and then mauls 100% to 83%. And New Zealand, I thought they did well, just again disrupting that South Africa maul and not letting them get the kind of, if that South African maul gets on a roll, they can go from 40 meters out to right to your line. They're just that good at it. But New Zealand able to kind of kill it early and force South Africa to move the ball. And one time, obviously, they turned the ball over in the maul there as well, after South Africa had been told to play it. I think it was Etzebeth was at the back, and he decided to keep it in, and then got held in there. Turnovers conceded then 13-12, so pretty even there. On to set piece then. New Zealand 4 from 6 in the scrum. They obviously got that one scrum penalty, but definitely under pressure for the most part on their own feed. And South Africa 6 from 6 from them. The one point where it felt like they were really dominant. Linus won then 12 from 15 for New Zealand and 14 from 18 for South Africa. So both teams pinching the opposition lineouts on occasions as well. And again, it wasn't clean enough for South Africa that, even with positions on the edge of the 22 where they could kind of, get that back line going. Tackles then, we got 146 from New Zealand, tackling at 88%, I think. 86, and South Africa 110, and they're tackling at 81%. So you see South Africa a little bit lower in terms of their tackle percentage there. And then cards, just a one for Quagga Smith. It wasn't kind of a game where there was a lot of kind of niggle or pettiness or anything like that. Like, we didn't have the kind of the set twos and stuff like that. And there was actually one point where Etzebeth, was it Mackenzie or was it the scrum half? I think it might have been the scrum half for New Zealand, where he kind of took him over the horizontal, but then actually made sure that he kind of cushioned him when they came to ground. So he kind of knew that he messed up there and it was penalty only. Like that was the one kind of point I felt like they could have sparked something, but we didn't get any handbags or anything like that. But there were 10 penalties conceded by each team. But a lot of those were kind of offsides, blocking, that kind of stuff. Like given the conditions, everybody just trying to get that little bit extra, but the officials were kind of on it there. So let's just quickly talk about some individual performances, and then we'll talk about the teams as well. So in terms of New Zealand, I think Will Jordan, 36 meters. I think that was probably the most of anyone in the team. 36 meters from 6 runs. He got his try as well. 3 from 4 tackles from him. Narawa, 1 run. It was obviously the try for 22 meters. But then he was off for the rest of the game. Then you had Proctor with 19 meters from 3 runs, 5 from 5 tackles. Rico Ioane, pretty quiet, 4 runs, 17 meters, 4 from 4 tackles. Generally dangerous going forward, but it wasn't really a game for wingers for the most part. And then if we go into the forwards, then I think like New Zealand's back three, their back row, not the back three, the back row, doing pretty well, especially, I thought Satiti was good, 19 meters from 13 runs, 9 from 10 tackles. And then for me, the player of the game, Artie Savea, 14 meters from 10 runs, just getting those hard carries in, 11 from 12 tackles, some great turnovers, some try savers in there, like a try saver in there as well. And, just seemed to be everywhere. And like that's players like him, they always seem to pop up at those pivotal points in the game and just nudge things in the favor of their team. And he really did that today. For the Springboks, then, you're looking at, the likes of Willie LaRue, just 2 meters from 1 run, 1 from 2 tackles. Colby, only 4 meters from 4 runs, really well shackled, 5 from 6 tackles. Jesse Creel, 22 meters from 9 runs, just trucking up the middle, or from 5 runs, 9 from 10 tackles. Dialende, 90 meters, 11 runs as well. So you see, they're making a little bit more meterage than New Zealand, but, again, they had to really work hard for it. 12 from 12 tackles from him. Kanan Moody, 26 meters from 2 runs. Did make some some ground going forward, but defensively only 4 from 7 tackles. Not brilliant overall for him. And again, kind of kept fairly quiet by that All Blacks defence. Into the forwards then, you got Etzebeth, 11 metres from 4 runs, 11 from 11 tackles. Van Staden, 37 metres from 11 runs. I think that's the highest of anyone. But 6 from 9 tackles from him. Peter Steptoe, 22 metres from 11 runs, 11 from 14 tackles. And then Sia Khaleesi, 3 metres from 3 runs, 6 from 6 tackles. And he was kind of on and off the field as well because of the yellow card period. But, wasn't actually slated to actually start this game, returning from injury. But, decent enough. And then Quagga Smith off the bench, 26 metres from 5 runs, 1 from 1 tackle from him. Set up a try and got himself a yellow card as well. So he ticked all the boxes, good and bad, in his appearance from the bench. But, again, overall, it felt like New Zealand just had that little bit more in terms of the two teams. There was handling errors on both sides, but it felt like the handling errors from South Africa were at more crucial times, and the composure came for New Zealand at the right time as well, both in attack and defence. But it was a fine margin. South Africa had that chance right at the death, to actually get over potentially for a try, and then the conversion to come to to get themselves a draw, not win the game, to get themselves a draw. But Savea, picked his time, got over that ball, competed really well, and won that penalty. And yeah, even though South Africa got another chance, it felt like the chance was gone from them at that point in the game was won, and that's how it came out as well. So really good game between these two. They're, for years and years, they've been the top 2 teams in the world, going back and forth, the biggest rivalry in, the Test arena. And, they served up another classic here today, I felt. But it was New Zealand with the win. Let me know what you think down in the comments.